I'm sure we've all had that unexpected surprise of finding things in our kitchen that probably shouldn't be there. Something funky in the fridge, or something growing in the pantry. Whatever it may be, one of those unexpected surprises or just something occurring in our kitchen quite normally, today we're going to be looking at how we can actually utilize these things to start a garden. So, welcome to my kitchen. There is a lot of waste that is produced in the kitchen. Now usually you might get rid of them by feeding it to chooks, feeding it to worms, composting it, or maybe you're lucky enough to have a council FOGO bin or food organics and garden organics bin that you can put it in. But today we're going to be using these waste materials to actually grow food. So the first one we're looking at today is coriander. Now coriander often is purchased from a supermarket with roots on the bottom. Now fortunately enough, we can actually use these roots to start growing our very own coriander plant. Now all we need to do with this one is take it out of the plastic and we can plant this one directly into soil. Very quickly the roots are going to take, and if we give it enough water and sunshine and air, it's going to be a very, very healthy plant in no time at all. Our next one is growing from avocado pips. Now these are regularly found in kitchen waste. And we can actually use these pips to grow avocado trees. So there's a few different ways of doing this. The way today is really quite simple. So all we need are the pips, we need some paper towel, and we need a plastic bag. First of all, we want to wet the paper towel, just so it's damp. Then we want to peel off the skin around the avocado pips. Now I've already done this, but they come off quite easily. Next we want to wrap the avocado pip up nicely in the paper towel, just so it keeps it nice and moist and doesn't dry out. Then we put the avocado pip into the bag, seal it off, and then we want to keep this in a nice warm environment that it's going to stay moist, and we can check on it, and if there's condensation on the inside of the bag, we know it's doing the right thing. After a few weeks we can start opening up the paper towel and looking, and the pip should start cracking, and once it starts cracking it's actually ready to plant. There'll be a root coming out, and then shortly after a shoot coming out, and in no time at all we'll have a very healthy avocado plant. Okay, next we're going to do everyone's favourite, the potato. Now I'm sure you've all found a potato at the bottom of a pantry, which we've all forgotten about, and it started shooting and has all these roots all over it. Now the one I've chosen today hasn't quite got to that stage, but it has started. So this one has lots of little shoots coming out of it, which we call eyes, okay? And when a potato reaches this stage, it's pretty much ready to plant. Now we can actually maximize this potato and grow lots of potatoes from this one by doing something very simple. So we have a knife, a chopping board, and all we need to do is chop so the potato has, or each piece has at least one eye on it. So by doing so, we can then plant each piece in some good potting mix, and this will shoot, and we've got a whole patch of potatoes. Before we do that though, it's really important that we let this dry out. When you cut a potato, there's a lot of moisture there, so if we let them dry out for a couple of days first, it's going to have maximum uptake and these bits aren't going to rot in the ground. So there we go. That is how we do, or how we grow potatoes from a sprouted potato, which would usually end up in a compost bin or worst place, our general waste. Okay, while we're with the chopping board, we're also going to experiment with a beetroot. Now for this, we just need a dish of some sort. Maybe ask mum or dad first, so we're not using our best dining ware. But with this beetroot, all I want to do is chop off the top part. Now we can actually use this, it's a perfectly good beetroot. And then we want to put the top of the beetroot in the dish, and we want to just cover with water. Once we have our beetroot in water, we just want to make sure that the water's not covering the top part of the beetroot. Then we can place it on a windowsill so it's getting plenty of sun and warmth, and after a few days we should start seeing some green shoots sprouting from here. Once the green shoots reach about 1 centimetre long, this guy's good to plant, and we can actually put it in some good soil, some potting mix in a pot, and we can take it outside and get it growing. All right, our next one is spring onions. Now spring onions are another one which commonly come with elastic bands and a whole heap of plastic around them, which we just don't need. Now it's also common that spring onions, when we use them, we often have the bottom little root part going into our waste, okay? Now we can do some pretty amazing things with these. So I'm going to chop these off.
Oh, hello, Sonny.
Yes, that's one thing we can do with them. They're great for impersonating old people. We can use them as great nose hairs and ears hairs. But that's not the thing I was talking about. So once we've retrieved the roots from our nose and our ears, we can actually get another little dish. We can stand them up in here, just leaning them up against the side, and make sure the roots are covered. Once we've got them all in, we can gently top up with a little bit of water, and then we can let it sit in a nice sunny area like a windowsill. After a few days, we'll notice that the tops of the spring onions will actually start shooting. Once it gets to that stage, we're pretty much ready to plant it in soil. So once again, get a pot with some potting mix in it, plant the spring onions as you would any other plant, just so the roots are below the surface, and keep the water up and you're away. So there's just a few ideas of how you can start a garden from your kitchen. Once you start opening up this world, there's so many different things you can experiment with. You can try growing the seeds from a pumpkin, or the seeds from an apple, even the seeds from a cucumber, or from a tomato. There are so many different seeds within the foods we eat in a kitchen. So experimenting with them is so much fun and quite exciting. Similar to a potato, different things sprout in the kitchen, whether it be sweet potatoes or garlic. There's so many options that we can play around with as well. There are so many benefits from doing this activity. One, we can reduce waste by all of this unnecessary packaging that we often get when we buy from a supermarket or from a grocer. Two, it's a cheap way of growing food because we're using the waste to actually start gardening and start growing food. Three, it is so much fun to experiment with different ways of growing food and starting a garden as well. I've only shown you a few options today of how you can start a garden from your kitchen. There's plenty more ideas on the worksheet, and you can get out there and experiment and try new things as well. So have fun doing so.